The year is 1630. The great port city of Genoa is not just a city, it is a financial engine, its arteries pumping silver and gold from the Americas to the heart of Europe. In a vaulted hall, the shareholders of the Bank of St. George are in session. They are not kings, but merchants. Their authority is not a crown, but a ledger. A representative of the Spanish crown, desperate to pay his armies, begs for a new loan. The bankers consult their books. They know the crown's credit is stretched thin, its promises backed by gold fleets that may or may not arrive. They agree to the loan, not just with existing coin, but by creating new entries in their ledger, a new abstract money that will now circulate alongside gold and silver. With a stroke of a pen, private creditors have created purchasing power out of thin air, binding a sovereign to their will. This was not done in a mint hammering out coins. It was done in a quiet room, through the social power of credit. Who truly controlled the lifeblood of the economy? The state with its sword, or the bankers with their books? Welcome to the Gold Line. Today, we explore the pivotal moment when the creation of money transformed from a physical act of stamping metal into a social act of extending credit. This is the story of how the chaotic system of free coinage was supplanted, not just by royal mints, but by the rise of central banks. This history matters because it reveals the fundamental architecture of our modern financial system, an architecture built on a struggle between public authority and private capital. Understanding this shift explains why banks have the power they do, and it casts a sharp light on our own era of digital disruption. By the end of this episode, you will understand how free coinage created a crisis of value that merchants and states could no longer tolerate. 2. How private banking houses, like the Bank of St. George, pioneered the model of centralized credit, creating money as a social relation of debt. And 3. How the Bank of England perfected this model, merging state and creditor interests to create a powerful new economic engine. Let us first consider the old world, the era of free coinage. In many realms, anyone with gold or silver bullion could bring it to the mint to be struck into official coins. The value of the coin was supposed to be equivalent to the value of the metal it contained. It was a system that appeared democratic, a market for money. But this was an illusion. The system was inherently chaotic and prone to crisis. The first problem was debasement. Sovereigns, constantly at war and in need of funds, would frequently recall coins, only to reissue them with the same face value but a lower precious metal content. This was a hidden tax, a primitive form of expropriation that transferred wealth from the holders of money to the sovereign. The second, more profound problem is what we call the transformation of the form of value. When the link between the nominal value of a coin and its material substance is broken, value becomes unstable. Gresham's law took hold. Bad, debased money drove good, full-weight money out of circulation as people hoarded the reliable coins. The circulating medium became a chaotic mess of uncertain quality, crippling trade, and making the value of a payment a gamble. This crisis of the monetary form created an opportunity. In Genoa, the Bank of St. George emerged as a solution. It was a consortium of the city's wealthiest creditors who had consolidated the city's public debt. They began to conduct transactions through written transfers in their ledger, bank money. This money was superior to coin. It was uniform, its value stable, because it was based on a social relation, a claim on the bank's capital and the future revenues of the state it controlled. The value of money was now directly tied to a social structure of credit and debt. This was the genesis of central banking, a centralization of credit in the hands of a private class that effectively governed the financial life of the state. The model was perfected in London. In 1694, a group of private investors lent £1.2 million to King William III to fund the reconstruction of the British Navy. In return, they were incorporated as the Bank of England. The bank took the king's debt, a promise to pay, and transformed it into the foundation of a new monetary system. It issued banknotes that were, in essence, transferable claims on the state's debt. This was a revolutionary consolidation. The state gained a reliable source of credit for its wars and expansion. The creditor class gained a secure, interest-bearing asset and the powerful privilege to issue the nation's paper money. The fictitious capital of the state's promise was mobilized to create a liquid and expanding money supply. The anarchy of free coinage was replaced by a highly organized, centrally administered system where money creation became inextricably linked to the creation of public debt under the management of a capitalist class. This 17th century monetary revolution is the direct ancestor of our modern financial world. The central bank model, a fusion of state authority and private creditor interests, became the global standard. But today, we are witnessing a profound challenge to this consensus, a new, decentralized coinage in the form of cryptocurrency. The parallel is striking. The old free coinage was a system where the value of money was ostensibly based on a physical commodity, but was constantly undermined by debasement and instability. The modern fiat system, born from the Bank of England model, bases the value of money on the social relation of debt and the authority of the state central bank complex. Cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin represent a rebellion against this. They seek to replace trust in a social institution, the central bank, with trust in the blockchain model. They promise a return to a hard money whose supply is mathematically fixed, immune to the debasement that characterizes both ancient coinage and, in the view of its proponents, modern central banking through inflation. But this is not simply a return to the past. This new decentralized coinage creates a new form of social abstraction. Value is not determined by the rarity and historical perceived value of gold or by the decree of a state, but by the confidence in the capacity of the coin to replace the current monetary system and, of course, by speculators hoping to benefit from the value increase of their holdings during this process. It is a commodity whose value is almost purely fictitious from the outset, a stark embodiment of the divorce between market price and any tangible use value in the short term. The critical question is this: does this new system dismantle the centralized power of the creditor class, or does it simply create a new one? The early miners and large holders of cryptocurrency, the whales, have accumulated vast holdings at minimal cost, a form of primitive accumulation in the digital realm. Also, there are the traditional financial actors and governments who have the capacity to buy large swaths of coins. The chaos of thousands of competing tokens mirrors the chaotic currencies of the pre-banking age, creating new opportunities for expropriation through speculation and fraud. The struggle, then, is not new. It is the latest chapter in the long conflict over who controls the social power to create and allocate value, a struggle between a centralized authority, managing a social relation of debt, and a decentralized network, attempting to codify that relation in immutable software. The centralization of money was never just a technical improvement for efficiency. It was a political act that reorganized class power. It transferred the control over the money supply from a diffuse and chaotic market of mints to the hands of a centralized institution that served, first and foremost, the interests of state finance and its private creditors. The move from the Bank of St. George to the Bank of England cemented a system where money is born as debt, and its management is a tool for social and economic control. The new world of decentralized currencies challenges this model, proposing an automated, disembedded system free from state intervention. But can the new system truly manage the social contradictions that central banks were created to address? Or does this new system, for all its claims of liberation, simply create new, more opaque forms of concentration and power, reminding us that the form of money is always a reflection of the social order that produces it? The essential conflict remains. It is the conflict between money as a public utility, managed by a social authority, and money as a private commodity, whose value is determined by the anarchic logic of the market. This has been The Gold Line. Until next time, understand the past to navigate the future.